Hello, welcome to my nudge. My nudge this week is race the course versus race the fleet. So my question is, how often do you practice racing the course or do you race the fleet? Now, what I mean is, by racing the course is, how fast can your sailor get from the start to the finish line against the clock? No other boats on the race course. So all they have to do is use the shifts, the gusts, the tide, the waves, the bias on the line, things like that as opportunities to get faster around the race course. There are no other boats on the course. Whereas the fleet races, what we normally do is racing to be first across the line. The time doesn't matter. And that's the real world. So why would you bother racing the course in practice if the real world is racing the fleet? Well, my point is that it's quite easy in a small fleet, particularly in a squad situation where you might only have a few boats. If you're doing race the fleet, they start racing against each other and forgetting about all of these opportunities very quickly. All those opportunities become low priorities. If, as long as I get ahead, then I can stay between them and the mark and I'll win the race. But they've stopped noticing some of these opportunities. You put them back in a bigger fleet in a championship and maybe they're not so good at racing the course. So actually, in reality, when we are racing in a fleet situation, really we're trying to use these conditions as opportunities to get ahead of the fleet and then stay ahead of the fleet by consolidating our position. And I think that sailors perhaps forget how to do that or don't practice it as often as they should do. So what I'm suggesting is that you need to think about the balance between what you do in your training exercises and your training camps, and that maybe some more time, possibly even 50-50, should be between racing the course and racing the fleet. How can you do it? Well, different ways of doing it. You could just set up a time trial. So sailors start one at a time with maybe a 1 minute interval between each one, or maybe a 2 minute interval between them, depending on how far out you want to space them. That's quite nice. They can then get to the windward mark. They could race all the way to the finish and you give them a time. The time gives them an indication about how fast they've gone, and the conversation with you might be about, well, how could you make it a faster time? Obviously, if the conditions change a lot, then that might interfere with the times artificially. However, you could stop them at the windward mark, give them their time at the windward mark, so they've got a benchmark. The time's an indicator, there's a bit of feedback, and then they have conversations with other people. Although they weren't racing those other people, they were racing the course in the same area on the same course. They might be 1 minute apart or 2 minutes apart. They're in similar conditions. They can have really rich conversations with each other about what were the opportunities to get faster around the course. You then bring this back together with a fleet race, and what you might notice is that straight away they're thinking, how much time am I spending thinking about the fleet versus thinking about what are the opportunities to go faster around the course? And maybe they start to realise, without you having to tell them, that actually they're not spending enough time thinking about what are the opportunities to be faster around the course, and they're spending too much time thinking about the rest of the fleet. So there's an idea, give it a go. Thank you.